Welcome back. So you are going to connect this. Okay, this is to tighten the upper base to avoid it from looking flappy. So you want to tighten it just like so, and you have to connect it just like this. Okay, so the next thing you want to do to complete this armhole creation, that is why I have to add this dart. So you need to measure this dart, which is 1.5. Then you have to come to the chest line, mark your bust circumference measurement divided into 4, okay, plus now this measurement. So because this style sometimes the shoulder point is not so tight, sometimes it's a bit loosening up. So if you do not want yours to be tight, that is fitted here, you can decide to not return the dart. That is if you want it to be tight. But if you do not want it to be tight, you can leave the dart, or you can decide to return just one of these darts. So you can decide to return only 0.75. Okay, that is if you do not want this place to be so tight. Then if you want it to be so tight, that is very fitted and hugging you, then you need to return exactly this dart. So from there, for this to relax, step down by 0.5. Then you are done and you are ready to create the final strand of your armhole. So I'm going to connect from this point. Then after then, I'm now going to take it down. I'll position my French curve to meet up with this. Okay, did you see how I did it? So we drop down here to help this place to relax. So now let's talk about the neck depth. You can maintain the bust point, the chest line, depending on what you want. So if you really want the neck to be very deep, you can just come and connect it from this. Did you see how I position this? So you need to position your French curve from this last dart to connect it to the bust point. Okay, if you take this measurement from those points, it means that you have to come back here and then make sure that this place and here is the same. But if you don't want that, you can just make sure you are placing it, both of them to align like so. You see? Then you can now connect from here to the depth. This is because I'm using the bust line, the bust depth as the depth of my neck. If that is too deep for you, you can use the chest line, or you can drop 0.5 below the chest line. Okay, so that is it for now. So we are leaving here like this because of the off shoulder extension we are going to make. And to achieve that off shoulder, you are going to come here and mark the length of your sleeve, which you can mark from 7.5 to 7 inches or 7.5. All right, you can use 7.5, 7 inches, or you can take this measurement on yourself. That is it. So for me, I'll be using just what I'm able to get here because my pattern wouldn't be able to accommodate it. This is because this is just a tutorial, but if I'm working on this, I would like to make sure that I'm using exactly up to 7 inches. So you're marking that measurement from this place, then you mark that extension. So what I'm able to get is what? 5.5. Okay, so that 5.5, we are going to be connecting it just like so. Okay, we're just going to be connecting because it's cut together. All right, or you can decide to retake this measurement to be sure that this place here and here is equal. You can easily pull this one, pull it here, Then you mark, then you pull this side as well to this point, and as you can see they are almost the same, just that this one is a little bit shorter. Okay, so when you pull both of them together they should be equal, right? Or you can decide to take the measurement like so. To that 0.5 we drop down from the underbust, then you want to remark it at this point. So if you're not sure about your measurement, you can just connect a line, maybe a line that is not very much visible, so that you can continue your pattern drafting. All right, so but if you're okay, you're just going to connect from the end of this point. You can either use your French curve or you can use the straight ruler. So I'm just making the dots so that before I mark the final line, I'll be sure of what I want. So you mark the depth, and the depth could be up to 2 inches depending on how wide you want it to be at this end. Okay, so you need to measure. Okay, so when you drop down by them, we are now going to connect it to this place. This was before we drop down by that is 0.5. Okay, so I'm just going to be connecting it like so. You can equally, so you see, so by the time we connect it like this, then when you wear it, it will be able to, give you that relaxation you have at this end. So just like I told you guys, so now I'm going to try to make sure that this place and here aligns. Okay, and for it to align, I just want the shape to look, more beautiful. So I can decide to increase it, and I can also decide to reduce it afterwards. So you can decide to use the straight ruler to make this connection. So you can decide to connect it either with the straight ruler or the curve. But the curve is also okay because it will help it, to relax at this stage. So now I have it, so I'm just going to blend it in to this point. So you can decide to later on cross check this measure. This is 7.5 from here to this end, 7.5. You can come here and increase this length. Okay, but just that my pattern is not that, it's not enough. Okay, but you try to make sure that when you're about to close up this line, you should, get something to make them align on this end. That's just what I mean. You should just try to make sure that they align, properly at that point. Because if they didn't align, one can come out looking longer. Okay, so that is just it. So for fitting purpose, taking this measurement, this extension will also be okay, so that you know exactly what you are working with. So now let's head out and head back to our ball under bust. So you're going to mark your under bust contouring. So from here I'll extend by 1 inch. Okay, so from here I'll come out by 0.5. Okay, so now I want to connect. Okay, so you divide your under bust measurement. Let's just finish creating the dart. So this measurement, I marked 1 inch from the nipple to nipple line. Okay, so take note on that. So from there again I come out this side by 0.5, which here is already 0.5, remember. Okay, so since there is already 0.5, what I'm going to do is just to connect here straight up. Then I'm going to extend this one to get to this point. So then this other one, I'm just going to take it to meet this side. You guys get? So now after that, you divide your round bust into 4 plus this dart. Okay, you need to return this dart. Okay, you come to your half length, you are to do the same. So you return this dart just as the same. So now when it comes to this point, I'm just going to come here and mark my hip circumference measurement divided into what? 4. Okay, so I'm going to now make this connection to connect all these points. So no need of, just whatever thing you have on the chest line is exactly what should be on the bust point. That is why I didn't include the measurements at the bust point. Hope you guys get. Okay, so now I'll connect to that my hip divided into what? 4. So after making this connection, I can decide to retake this place, maybe my upper hip, to know if I have shortage because of this. But obviously there shouldn't be any shortage because we connected from all the way to the extension. Okay, or you can still retake your upper hip and cross check to be sure that there is no shortage. Okay, so I forgot to blend here. You really need to blend here. You just need to blend here like so. So now with this, you take your bust that measurement, and you want to connect. So I normally love to make sure that my busts that they are equal from the bust points, so that there wouldn't be any need to fold and recut later on. So this is what we have for now.